Alright guys, I got 3 videos for you today, all about how to read the advance report, all the different things that happen with an advance report, all these little codes that you see on the advance report, how to fix them, how to make it so your retention's better, how to get things back on the books, how to fix your back end, how to fix your front end, how to make sure everything is working properly when you see what comes up on the advance report. Now, I know there's a lot of codes to go through, so I did 3 different videos, segmented it out the best I could. Now, I know there'll still be some questions. I would comment down in the section below if you have a few questions that I can answer for you. Most of the time, just go up to your manager. They'll be able to respond to you, make sure you get the correct information, and get the proper things taken care of for you right away. Now, with that being said, these are things that do affect the chargebacks and stuff, and you usually have 2 weeks to get it fixed. Now, I recommend getting it done the first week. As soon as you see it on your advance report, get it done as soon as possible. So, without further ado, here are the videos. Hope you enjoy.
This is the first video in my series. With this video, if you notice, I have an advance report right here for you. The first thing that I want to point out to you is when you're going through your reports, you've uploaded your policies and everything, you see a little section next to it that says approved or rejected. Now, the first thing to mention here is when the policy's been rejected, it doesn't mean that anything's wrong with the policy. It's just been rejected by telecheck. Unfortunately, we don't know the exact reason why. It could be very different reasons. But what it does is it goes on a 7-day hold. It's just on a waiting period. So when you see your advance report, anything that gets rejected is going to show up here at the top. It's going to say EPND, which stands for pending, which is on a 7-day hold, which means that it's going to show up on your next advance report, and it'll show the payment on that. The next thing to notice down here is the EREI, which stands for the reinstatement. So if there's a policy that fell off or may have lapsed, or there was an incomplete on the policy, and each one of these things I'll go over in the next video, this means that it got put back on. It counts as a positive for you in your annual life premium. Unfortunately, you don't get advanced on this because it is going to your back end, okay, and that's where all your bucket money goes. Okay, the other thing that can happen is there is a no production. So on certain policies, certain managers, if there's a policy that you think isn't gonna go through or anything like that, or that you want a no production on it so it helps out your back end more, that's what this is. That's why there's this policy. Now, these can help you because it increases your back end and how much the renewal checks are. So it can help out in the long run. All right, guys. Thanks for your time, and on to the next. Okay, guys, here's video number 2 of the 3-part series. On this video, if you notice, I have another advance report in front of me. You'll notice that there's a lot of information here. So there's a lot of stuff that I need to cover, and we'll go by each one at a time. The first thing is up at the top, it shows EALAP. It stands for lapse policy. Now, this policy has paid a few months, and then it lapsed, so it's no longer in effect. So whatever happened, they may have missed a payment or two, and so now this policy is showing lapsed. What you need to do is you need to go back in to them, contact the customer. Usually there will be a phone number right underneath, that's right next to the elapse, that tells you their phone number. You need to contact that number, contact them, find out what happened, and take out another reinstatement form to get that back on the books. Now, the reinstatement form is a long form, has a bunch of information on it that's needed for home office. Now, you can get with your manager. They'll know what a reinstatement form is. There will also be a link to it down at the bottom in the notes section here. Now, after you complete the reinstatement form, you will need to get a live check from them, And there's also a redraft authorization form that needs to be filled out as well. So you'll need to make sure you get that taken care of. Turn it into your manager, and they will ship it off to the correct person that needs that information at home office. All right. So the next thing is the ENTO. That stands for not taken out. Now this policy most likely got a modification. You should have been notified by your manager, also on the Wednesday bulletin, that mod came in and that you needed to get it fixed. So usually you have 2 weeks to get this fixed before it gets taken off your advance report. Once you see this, that means that it didn't get fixed in time, but you still have time to go get it taken care of. So on this, you need to find out what that mod is, get with your manager. They should have a copy of it, and get that completed. Most of the time it's usually just a phone call, or there's medical information that was missing, or you forgot to fill out a questionnaire. Okay. The next one down on this list is the ECAN, which stands for canceled. These are policies that have been canceled by the client. So the client has called up home office and said, hey, I no longer wish for this policy to be in effect. Now, it can sometimes happen that they didn't mean to cancel it, or they just wanted to put it on hold. Your job is to find out exactly why it was canceled, and if there's anything you can do to fix this policy and get it back on the books. Now, if they do want to get it back on, you just need an EAP authorization form and also a reinstatement form. And those two are included in the links down at the bottom, which will help you get that back on. Now, once you have those completed, get them into your manager, and he will send them off to the correct person at home office. The next one down is the EDCL, which stands for decline. So this policy right here had been declined because of whatever health conditions that didn't allow home office to offer them a policy. Now, there are decline counteroffers, so I would check your policy modifications, which means that yes, the policy was declined, but they had a counteroffer of $5,000 or whatever it was that said, yes, we can get them a policy, but only for this amount. And I'd recommend getting that there so you don't lose all your production. The next one on this list is the EINC, which stands for incomplete. Now, what happened is the same thing as the ENTO, which stands for not taken out. It's very similar. It just means that the policy was incomplete. And what happened is there was a Wednesday bulletin saying, hey, we may have needed a HIPAA form, we needed a questionnaire for asthma, or whatever it is. Your manager can check on that for you, or you can look in the CAS system under your policy number to find out exactly what home office needed and get that corrected and sent off to them. All right. Now, I appreciate you guys' time, and I will see you in the next video. Alright guys, this is the third and final video explaining what each different code means and how to fix them. With all these that I'm going to be listing here, we will need an EAP authorization form to get each one of these fixed. Now, these will all these that I'm showing you here, if you've already been paid on it, it will count against you and will give you a chargeback. So it's very imperative that you get them fixed as quickly as possible. Now, the first thing is the IPNSF. That means that it was non-sufficient funds the first time they drafted the account. Now, just so you're aware, whenever they send off a draft for the account, this is a big key, 3 days later they are going to draft the account again. So that's 2 drafts that they're going to do. So if the first time it didn't go through, which is the IPNSF the first time, just know that 3 days later they're going to draft it again. Now, if it comes back IPNSF 2, that means that it's been tried to draft twice and it did not go through. The next one on the list is the IPINV. This stands for an invalid account. That could be because you probably got an account that wasn't a draftable account. This happens sometimes with different prepaid cards that you may use, or you just missed a number on the check. That's why we get voided checks, or you write down the numbers. I would just look at your what comes next form and find out if the numbers match up with the policy that you wrote. Sometimes they don't always match up correctly, so you just need to get that fixed and get it back on. The next thing down is the IPACL. You don't see too much of these. If you do see it, this is what it means. It just means that it's an account closed, and that their account is no longer active, and they've closed that account. What you need to do is contact the customer, find out what account is active, get the different information for their new account that they're using. And again, you just fill out the app authorization form. It's just a phone call to the customer and figure out what you need. I would recommend with the account closed is to actually go to the customer and get a check from the new account so you can have it on hand. Okay, the next one is the IPSTP. That means a stop payment has been put on that account. So what happened is they contacted their bank and said, I no longer want to start paying for this policy, or there was an error, or maybe they thought it was a fraudulent charge. It does sometimes happen. You just need to contact the customer and say, hey, were you aware that this had happened? Because it may not have been their fault. It may have been something that the bank did. So they just need to take off the stop payment, and that just requires another EAP authorization form saying that this is okay to go, stop payment's been taken off. The next one is the IPAFZ, means account frozen, which means that the customer no longer has access to that account. For whatever reason, they just need to make sure they get that taken care of. At that point, I would recommend trying to see if there's a different account that they can use. And again, an EAP authorization form is required for that as well. Now, the last one down here, if you notice the three policies that I have at the top that say EWTH, it means that this policy has been withdrawn. So each one of those policies that have an EWTH on it, that don't have any of the other codes and has that in front of it, it means that it's been withdrawn and now requires a reopen form. So you need both the EAP authorization form and an EAP reopen form to get that back on the books. Okay, and you can get with your manager. There's also links down below that will get you to those pages, and make sure your manager gets those when you've completed them. And most of these just require a contact with the customer. Now, the insufficient funds one, you just need to contact the customer and say, hey, what happened? Is there a better date that we can draft this policy and get it back on the books that way? All right. Thanks, guys, for listening. If you have any comments, comment below. If you have any questions that need answers, I would suggest get with your manager, and they will help you get to where you need to go to make sure all these chargebacks that come on are taken care of. All right. Thanks for your time.